that we can have a very seamless way of managing this roundtable. So let's get started. So our first agenda is we will have a quick opening note, and that's me. I'll be your host for the time being for the next 1.5 hour session. And if this goes really intensive, it may go more than 1.5 hours. And we will also have live audience questions that is coming up for 15 minutes. The roundtable will happen for 70 minutes after the introduction. And we would then wrap up after your question and answer. There will be some friendly quizzes and the polls and some goodies as it's coming, on your way as we go along. So please feel free to utilize that, ask some questions regarding it. And yes, so with that, let's get started. So a little bit about me. I am Sudipta Paul-Chaudhary. I have overall 20 plus year of experience in global, innovative, disruptive, and impact-driven marketing leadership. My main forte has been specifically into working with different industries like SaaS, fintech, tech, and telecom, retail, healthcare, e-commerce. I am a product marketer with brand and of course customer research and competitive intelligence. That is my core set. Um, I have received a few accolades recently in the last few years. First one being the Women of Substance 2024, given by one of the NGOs working globally for diversity, equality, and inclusion. For I was also one of the top 250 global marketeers by Paper Content, one of the global marketing agencies based in US. And in 2022, one of the top 10 marketing leaders. And in ET now, I was also the recipient of Top Women Executive Award in 2021. My background in education, I had done my engineering and then MBA in marketing from IIM Calcutta. And I have also taken a few of the consulting engagements and the speaking in various forums, Institute of Product Leadership, North America Customer Centricity Awards, Global Workforce Management, Edinburgh Institute, UK, many newspaper, lead events, Economic Times, and of course, a few of the sales and marketing driven events like CRM Academy of Asia, TIE Mumbai, Pearl Academy, and many MBA colleges, including, Amity, NMIMS, Jackson. And I have also recently submitted a case study on GTM for Harvard Business Schools. And if I'm not really doing marketing, I am traveling. I am a travel buff. I traveled to 50 plus countries and would like to really travel 30 plus more in the next few years. And I definitely believe strongly in giving back to the society, being a certified career mentor, and I'm a pro advocate of diversity, equity, and inclusion. I am actively involved with many NGOs and also have touched the life of 10,000 plus students and professionals globally through mentorship and also working with them, taking few classes for the underprivileged during my weekend sessions. I love reading books. As I said, other than that, I also write a lot of content, blogs, and I am also an advocate of good AI, ethical AI. So that's about me. And with that, let me go and tell you a little bit more about Shorter Loop before we open up the roundtable. So as the name says, Shorter Loop is shortening the loop between any idea, maybe a business idea or a product idea, to the value realization or outcome, and going beyond that by using continuous discovery, agile methodology, and design thinking, and powered by generative AI. We help professionals across the world to create delightful products which customers will gladly pay for. Here, we are a unified product management platform having 1,000 product teams globally who are using our products right now. We typically thrive in reducing the overall product cycle time by 80% while reducing the product market risk by 53% using continuous discovery and design thinking. And we also believe that Shorter Loop is making an impact in the entire product lifecycle management and also the product development. We have been the recipients of various awards. Lastly, in this month, being the top product management software by TechOne, one of the US market places, and also the customer satisfaction review agencies, and also on G2 and SourceForge, Crosstex, Product Hunt, and also CV Insights and many others. So let's get into the next one. So in a nutshell, we are solving the problem of the entire product life cycle, right from listening to our customers. And it's not a linear, it can start from anywhere, helping them to ideate, discover, and strategize, entirely collaborating the team, not just the product managers, but also the marketing, design, sales, customer success, technology, development, management. Anyone can have a same view on shorter loop when the product is being designed or being ideated. Finally, on the defining, planning, and building, and then measure and learn once the product has been launched, how is the overall reaction in the marketplace. Now, moving to these, some of our competitive advantages, that we are very much linked with all the stages of continuous discovery and also the product development stages. Through the Gen AI and also design thinking, we provide the intelligent coaching. We also focus on, as I said, that we are there from ideation to value realization and beyond. And main problem that today we see, teams have collaboration issues, and admitting the overall communication, the streamlining, not able to see that one view, not able to see how the overall product is doing in a one consolidated dashboard, managing all the documentation and the design and everything in one place. So this is what Shorter Loop does. And of course, it supports enormous numbers of experiments, product hypothesis, validation, and that gives you a first-hand insights that what to build next, or creating an MVP that will not be a failure in the market. Some of the awards that we have received in Crosstex, we have been the product leader, and in G2, we are one of the high performers consistently in the last 2 years. These are some of the recognitions that you have already seen. We have been also recognized by entrepreneur.com by best AI-powered product management software. And these are some of our customers across the globe. You will also find some of our customers talking today. And we are having people from all the different places across the industries. So it's an industry agnostic product. Anything that has SaaS and digital products, Shorter Loop is there to help. So with that, I come to an end. And if you are interested to know more about us, or if you would like to take a quick demo, you can use this link. And with that, I will get into, if you have any demo request, you can also reach out to us at contact@shorterloop.com. Moving to this next one. Just give me a minute. Yeah. So let's come to the interesting round that we are going to get started, right? So today we have lined up with 6 speakers, very renowned and respected in their own field. So let me welcome them one by one. Meet Pratik Katyal from EasyPay. He's the CTO of EasyPay, one of the top fintech platform in India. And I will also have some detailed bio for each of the speakers today. Then let's have William Mulholland. He has been the AI in product management. He has been the instructor, and also he has been working with many firms. Pluralsight is one of them, but he has also done few recognized work in MIT. And let's meet Akhil Sharma. He is the director and head of acquisition and growth at Razorpay. Meet Kendrika Mazuk. She is the senior product manager at Mediavine. And meet Deepak Gupta from Tukitaki. It's a anti-fraud and more on cybersecurity based platform based in Singapore. Deepak is the director of the overall product enablement. And meet Saraswati Sriprada. She is the senior product manager at Invisia. It's a US-based travel tech company. So let's go in details about each of them. So starting with Pratik, Pratik has been, he holds BTech in computer science, and his competencies has been around software delivery, product architecture, program and project management, agile methodologies, and team building. He has hands-on experience in designing and implementing loan origination, management, and co-lending systems, CRM credit rule engines, recon systems, sentiment analysis, and digital marketing tools. His current projects are architected loan orchestration platform for facilitating loans to MSME integrated with multiple NBFC. Designed financial profiling platform based on alternate data and bank statement analyzer. And he has been architecting and implementing ONDC buyer and seller app for e-commerce and finance. So welcome, Pratik. Here are some more his current position, and also you see that he has been previously involved in developing and implementing loan organization systems, rule engine for credit automation, and also API platform for providing hooks to different alternate payments modes like Paytm, PhonePe, and so on and so forth. He is also working as a chief architect and has the responsibility of solution setup for backend system integration with Oken and peripheral apps. And his major responsibility in solution architecturing and the setup and designing the and hosting the strategy. He is a fintech guy with delivery management and software development being his main technical skills, and predominantly from fintech and finance space. So welcome, Pratik. We are so excited to listen from you. Moving to our next speaker, William Mulholland. Hi, William. I think you guys can also, see William when I'm talking. As I told that he has been an AI product management instructor, and he has overall 17 plus years of experience working with various clients across startups and global enterprises, including Fortune 100 companies. His specialization in industries include fintech, SaaS, tech, and big data. And he has worked on various product management roles at Workiva, BotKeeper, ClearGov. His other roles have been in Deloitte, being audit and enterprise risk advisory services, Santander Bank, and regulatory, which is a regulatory capital reporting department where he worked. And he also had worked in AI in product management role for other organizations like PACT, AI Accelerator Institute, ClearGov, BotKeeper, Workiva, Santander, Deloitte, City of Pawtucket. Okay, let's also, hi William, it's so interested to have you as well. And audience, I cannot tell you more, but you will really have an interesting session coming in. So some of the skills of Williams are product management, AI product development, data analytics and visualization, big data management, business process, SaaS and fintech, relationship management and communication. He holds various certification from various product management, global product management platforms like Product School, AI micro certification, the Product Compass, from Pendo, AI for Product Management, AHA Product Management Professional Certificate, and from LinkedIn. And also he is a certified Scrum product owner and Scrum Alliance practitioner. Great. Moving to our next valuable speaker of today evening or today's morning, or based on whichever zone you are, or it's a wonderful afternoon. So meet Akhil Sharma. He is the Director of Product Management at Razorpay. You know Razorpay, I don't need an introduction today for Akhil. So it is one of the top fintech platform in India. Akhil has been a strategic product leader with over 15 years of experience in tech and product development. He is currently working as a director of product management at Razorpay, but he has also worked in various other companies like automobile tech, Ola, Adobe, Expedia being the travel tech, telco, Airtel, and IBEBO Group. Again, it's a travel tech related organization. Akhil excels in driving consumer growth and engagement, and he is a guest lecturer at IIM Bangalore, ISB Hyderabad, IIT Hyderabad, Alliance School of Business, JIMS Delhi, and he has been a product expert coach and mentor at Product School, San Francisco, USA, and Institute of Product Leadership, Boston, USA. He holds MBA from the same institute, IIM Calcutta, where I have also studied a few years after he completed, after I completed, and he holds BE from Netaji Subhas Institute of Technology, Delhi University. His skill sets are product management, product marketing, growth strategy, consulting, business planning, and team management. Now, I love diversity, and this is our first woman speaker of the day. Meet Kenrika Mazuk. She's a senior product manager at Mediavine. Kendrika has overall 15 plus years of media and product management experience. Pay attention, guys. So she has not been into product management from the beginning, and you will hear from her that if you would like to transition to a PM to a PM role, how you can succeed and what really matters, right? So her first work experience, has been she has worked in Magnite as product manager, with AEG as an associate product manager. She was with ESPN as a content editor, which is a total non-PM role, and she has been a news reporter in Bond's News Network. So completely a PR or a marketing or a content professional to a product management professional. Her skills and expertise are not just product management, but digital workplace management, data analysis, communication, stakeholder management, and data visualization. Her certifications include Lambda, Pi, Eta National Communication Honor Society, Phi Eta Sigma Honor Society, Product Management Certification General Assembly, and recipient of Ad Monsters 2023 Top Women in Media and AdTech Award. Wow. Moving to our next speaker of the evening, Deepak Gupta, Director Product Enablement to Kitapi. And Deepak has overall 16 plus years of experience, and he is a director in product enablement. And his past experience involves Amadeus Labs, working there as a product manager, Altisource Labs, product managers and IT business partners or sales center of excellence in Hindustan Unilever. He has also worked with Tata Consultancy Services as assistant systems engineer. His skills and expertise involves product development, data analysis, production management, software as a service, and he also holds certification on value-based pricing from LinkedIn. Our next DEI speaker of today's day and evening, Saraswati Sriprada. So Saraswati is a senior product manager at Invisia, and she has 16 years of experience across telco, retail, and fintech. She has also worked with many other organizations like Cognizant, Diksha Technologies, Typhoon, StarHub, Accenture, TCS, and her expertise involves both B2B and B2C product management, e-commerce, telecom BSS, program management. She had been in the different space from lead system analysis, software engineer, again another non-PM to moving to a PM role, from the software engineer development, business analysis to a consultant, and then moving to a senior product manager roles. Her skill sets include cross-functional team leadership, business planning, commercial focus, product requirements, product vision, Scrum, stakeholder management, agile methodologies, product strategy, objectives and key results, which is OKR, voice of the customer, strategy, problem solving, market analysis, and product management. Her certifications include AI product management from Duke University, Pratt School of Engineering, generative AI for everyone from Deep Learning AI, AI for product management from Pendo, Launch Darkly Gold Developer Certification, Digital Cloud Leader from Google Cloud, and Digital Transformation by University of Virginia and VCG Coursera. Great, guys. So with that, we get started with our roundtable. If you guys have any specific questions, please feel free to ask at this point, or you can put it on the chat. I will now start with my first question to our speaker. So we have seen different types of industries expertise, and we also see different skill sets and different positions that they have been hold and their current position also in different organizations. So with that, my first question goes, what are the key skills to crack PM's interview, meaning the product manager's interview? And because we have 6 speakers, I will ask top 6 skills, and each speaker can, start with one skill. And with that, my second question, which is piggybacking my first question, is that do you also see, when we are talking about these top 6 skills, is there any regional variation? So with that, I will start with Kendrika, if you would like to start.
Sure. Hi guys. So happy to be here. I would say that some of the top skills that I would recommend or have seen to a better product manager interview would be some of them might seem a little obvious, right? So there's learning the industry that you're applying for, and obviously the company and their top earning products. I think doing a deep dive as much as you can that's available to you on the internet is kind of a no brainer. That's really important. You want to show them that you are kind of like invested in their products and that you really want to help them solve their problems, and that there will be a less steep learning curve as far as getting you up to speed with some of the more basic offerings that they might have. Um, I would say displaying your ability to be solution oriented by asking a ton of questions that gives them insight into how you think about a problem. Another skill set that's important for me would be having a strategic mindset. You have goals that are going to, as any PM, you have should have goals that are going to roll up into the overall business initiative in order to like drive value. And so being able to showcase how your mind works and the way that you kind of tackle problems will be really important in that interview. Some and different interviews are structured differently. Sometimes you might have like user case studies, right? Like those are what those are designed for in order to see how you think as a PM and see how you get from being presented with a problem and going through the whole process of presenting a potential solution. So I would say that for me, those are some of the top, very basic skills that should get you into a good position in an interview.
Great. Thank you so much, Kendrika. William, what's your take on this?
Thanks for having me, everyone.
Skills.
I appreciate it. I'm glad to be here and really excited to dig deep into the Q&A section. So Kenrika had some great examples for some skills to crack for a product management interview. I will kind of preface this as every product management interview is different, and it's really important to understand what type of product role you're interviewing for first off. But if we talk about a couple skills, I'm going to talk about two here. One is product sense. Product sense has been kind of hyped up recently in the product management community. So what is product sense? It's really an understanding of what makes a product great, and the ability to think from a user's perspective. And some actionable steps that you can do to kind of prepare for that product sense skill is develop a kind of a SWOT analysis of the product currently in the market. And two, it's really great even to come into the interview preparing with a user persona that is impacted by their product, and offering some insights, not only from the product side, but also the user's perspective side. There's one skill. A second one that I'll communicate here is communication, storytelling. Every great interview that I've conducted or been a part of, storytelling is a really good way of showcasing your skills, your experience, your passion for that role, and the impact that you'll have at that organization. So it's really important on the storytelling side to prepare for that interview. And on the communication side, it shows that you have clear and effective communication with really four key areas: stakeholders, teams, internal teams, customers, and partners.
Great. Thank you so much, William. Pratik, Deepak, Akhil, and Saraswati. Yeah. Okay. I will ask Pratik to go first.
Thank you, everyone, and for joining the session. It's really exciting, as William said. Like it will be more fun once you go into Q&A part. That's when the real grilling starts. So, yeah. So I'll just add to what William said and what Kendrika has added. Analytical skills is another one thing, right? And data-driven decision making. As a product manager, you should be very comfortable with the data, right? And whatever you talk about, because you guys are somebody who will be giving a vision to an idea, like an idea how it can be visualized in terms of a particular product. And any of this statements, once you make in an interview, right, you have to back it up with the data. So for example, like things when I discuss with folks about digital lending, I talk about things how a person can be judged whether he's fit for the particular credit product or not. It has to backed with the data. Like if you're talking about particular geography, like this geography works in this manner, the people in those geography have these kind of attributes, and those attributes can then be further analyzed to create that feature, and that feature then links to the product, right? So those become a very important aspect apart from what William and Kanika has added. So that would be my addition to this question.
Thank you so much, Pratik. Saraswati, what's your take?
Hi, everyone. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Excited to be here. And I think wonderful answers by previous respondents. I would add familiarity with the tech stack as one of the core skills, the interviewees should be having, and not at a superficial level, but more at a system design level, because when we build a system as a PM, there is a certain expectation from the industry in terms of, the reliability or the performance metrics. We need to be at par with other products operating in the industry. And as a PM, this needs to be taken into consideration well before the product starts to build. And the candidate who is interviewing should be able to demonstrate, from his experience, situations where they understand the system design and they have contributed actively in engaging and collaborating with the engineering team to, make sure that the product is at the standard, at the technical standard, the industry and the end consumers demand. Yeah, so that's my addition to this list.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Saraswati. Deepak, your take.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Pleasure to be here and speaking to all of you. I'd add a couple of more items to this. One is insatiable curiosity, which in itself also implies strong reasoning capabilities, because reasoning will help you ask the right questions if you follow first principles. This is extremely important because this will effectively guide the PM's breadth of knowledge that he'll acquire through his primary research, secondary research, the questions that he'll give his researchers to find answers to carve out the product roadmap and strategy. So that's on the solutioning side. Even on the problem statement side, which is where I believe I'd love to hear the candidate speak 80% of the time during an interview, is the problem statement and the problem context within which he is talking about the product he is talking about. Why is it a problem? How big is that problem? Who is it a problem for? And why solving it makes business sense? So I think a very strong orientation to problem space and insatiable curiosity is, are these two things that I would look for in a candidate.
Great. Thank you so much. I don't see Akhil, but I'm sure he is coming up. Akhil, are you there? I'm just doing a quick name calling, but I'm sure you will be there for the next few questions. So here I am summarizing. I think great insights from all of you. Enrica talked about asking the right questions and having, crafting it. If it is a case study, how do you really, answer, or what are the meaningful or thought-provoking questions that will help them to really think as a leader? William talked about product sense and SWOT analysis, communication, and storytelling. And Pratik, you talked about analytical skills and the data-driven, which is very important because a product manager also has to be data savvy. And Saraswati talked about being the tech savvy or the tech stack, knowing the system designing. If you have really contributed working with the engineering team, able to say that or articulating it. And at the same time, Deepak talked about the insatiable curiosity, and also doing the market research, getting the consumer insights, and when there is a problem solving scenario, asking the right question, why, when, how. And that is where, it brings all in a nutshell the key skills of the product managers that is really needed today. Moving to my next question, which comes as what are the biggest strengths and weaknesses you see in how most candidates approach product manager interviews? So the biggest strengths and the weaknesses, maybe all the speakers can contribute to one strength and one weakness. And maybe you can get started. I think Deepak, you go start first, and then I will do the calling for other sales.
Okay. Strength usually I have seen is in terms of the past experience that the candidate has had, which kind of opens up a lot of potential and, let's say, anticipation for me. Like the candidate should have a lot to share and talk about. So that's something that I see as a strength in a candidate. If he has something interesting to talk about coming from his past experience, like that's a very clear sign. And mostly I have had experience of only talking to PMs with prior experience, not freshers. So I would speak from that angle. And from a weaknesses perspective, what comes across is sometimes candidates are not quite structured in terms of their responses. Sometimes candidates have a tendency to jump to respond to a question without taking a moment to structure their thoughts and coherently present them. Makes them also inefficient in terms of the ideas they want to communicate. So that's a big red flag for me. So I would say, yeah. So.
Great, Deepak. Thank you so much. Saraswati, what's your take?
Actually, I'll go with the weakness first. I think once the candidate starts to talk, because I believe that product management, is still an evolving profession, and a lot of us are started with something else, and we graduate to the PM roles. So as in, people fill the gaps to see and then start applying to these roles. And sometimes what happens is the interviewer is a little skeptic of whether the candidate has these skills or not. So I think the weaker thing which people do is try to brush it under a carpet, try to give fast answers or, brush through the topic. And I see the opposite in strong candidates where, they try to map somehow what they have done with what the JD is, and they are able to give some kind of proof either from their past experience, or they demonstrate a mindset where they will tell you that, okay, I have done this work in an associated field or a complementary field. And then this is how, I would approach this problem, which makes the interviewer puts it a little ease, because end of the day, not everybody knows everything, but the honesty to acknowledge it, the smartness to tie it on the spot to your relevant experience, and then demonstrate that growth mindset. I think it's strength and weakness depends on how the candidate actually plays it during the interview. That's how I think about it.
What very valid. Thank you so much. Moving to William.
Perfect. Love a good SWOT analysis. So I'm going to also start with a weakness, but also I'm going to take that weakness and align it to an opportunity here. So the weakness I want to talk about is kind of somewhat what Deepak said earlier too. Some candidates actually kind of focus too much on their past achievements without really demonstrating how those achievements or that experience can be applied to the new role. So the opportunity there is really to really do a really nice little practice interview prep of demonstrating how this achievement is aligned with a specific job responsibility or within that role that you're interviewing for. Now, for a strength, I always kind of talk about kind of some of the skills and some of the actual steps that we answered in the previous question. It's often well-prepared candidates. They're going to have a deeper understanding of companies' products, their platform, and their market and users. So I often kind of look at the strength of individuals coming into an interview that are very well prepared, that maybe even have some deliverables ready to share on the screen with me and walk through.
Great. Thank you so much. Moving to Kendrika and then Pratik.
Sure. I'd say, I guess I'll just hop on the train here and talk about weaknesses first. One weakness that I think PMs fall into is the inability or refraining from kind of tapping into their previous experience, right? It was mentioned before that most of us, it is an evolving role, and most of us have come from previous backgrounds, whether that's finance, engineering, etc. It is okay for you to tap into your previous experience in that role, because I think that gives you a unique perspective into how to solve various problems as a product manager. I would also say that a weakness I think a lot of newer or junior PMs make is thinking that it's all about nailing down a particular framework or a particular process. And once I memorize this flow, that is how I'm always going to work. When some of the best qualities of being a great PM is being agile at your core. Because as you mentioned in the beginning, like the process can start from almost anywhere. Like it would be nice if it started with an idea and you got to grow that, but sometimes you're jumping in and something's already in progress and you're going to have to be malleable. So those are some of the weaknesses. I will say that a strength that probably isn't very, I haven't seen it mentioned a lot, is your personality. You are a culture hire too. You are one of the very few roles that are going to touch every part of the business, and you need to be able to be likable. You need to be able to be empathetic, to have strong communication skills. So you are a personality hire. So don't come off too much like a robot.
No, I think that's bang on. Thank you so much, Kenrika. Yeah. Pratik, yes, please.
Yeah, mostly everything is covered, but I'll just put in one point. So what happens is generally in PM interviews, what I have seen, right? I try to throw a curveball, putting a case study, which can be a little bit sometimes outside the context, just to understand like how the interviewee handles it and what kind of an approach he gives. And uh, not many times, but yeah, at times I have seen the candidate just gets nervous or goes down in the energy, and so that becomes a very negative impact, because generally as a product manager you are one of the face who will be talking to the clients, especially when it comes to service industry, right? So you'll be talking to the client, you're trying to understand his pain point, right? And it's fine like to say like something if you're not very much aware of it, if case study is been given by the interviewer. But you should never go down on your energy. Your energy should be all full of energy, full of your curiosity, as one of the speakers said initially, right? And with that curiosity, you should ask questions, because that's what will the role also will involve when you are in the actual field, where something comes up in front where you're not very prepared for. So keep the basics in your head, right? About being very curious about users' needs, being having that user empathy inside your brain as a what you would call as a main feeling, right? And if you have that and you're not low on energy, you will be able to always answer those curveball questions very nicely.
Great. Thank you so much. So I think my notepad is getting it will fill very soon. But yeah, as of now, what I see is everyone is touching the weakness first. I don't know why. It's I think it's like a group mindset that is working. But yeah, asking a lot of questions, but also giving fast answers. Asking questions, which is good, but giving fast answers, not really thinking through this, that is not really a good thing. So that is definitely a weakness. I also understand from my fellow speakers that when you have a lot of experience, how do you relate that to the current JD, the job description, and able to give the right articulation or the examples, kind of a situation led approach that you have taken, collaborative mindset, growth mindset, asking the right questions, deeper understanding the introspection, or your understanding the company and the products even more. That is definitely it's a good strength, but not able to relate your past experience to the current JD is a weakness. And then everybody talked about that product manager is also should be an empathetic leader. That's very important, because you need to go along with the masses, right? Because you are showing the way. Yeah, you are creating the strategy, new vision, and everything. So sometimes people don't ask a lot of questions, and sometimes it is also about the situation handling, the pressure, asking some out of the context questions, and also being well prepared about the company, their product, their customers. That's really puts them something to be likable, which Kendrika also said, being empathetic but being also likable. And also Pratik said that yes, being empathetic definitely makes sense. Also I think a couple of other things, that not able to see the problem in the questions, which is again relating to your first answering to the question, and not really thinking deep but thinking shallow in my approach. So yeah, these are the some of the strengths and the weaknesses. I will move on to my next question, which is the next one. in your experience, what are some of the most common red flags during a product manager interview? And William, maybe you can start first and others can join you. Yeah.
Sure. So I'm gonna use an analogy here, and it's probably not the best one, but it's one that I'm going to use here. So it's kind of like dating, right? What are some red flags? We've heard of beige flags here too, but for this question, I'm going to answer with the red flags. And one, just like dating, is poor communication. The inability for a product leader to clearly articulate kind of the thoughts and ideas behind a product vision, a strategy, a roadmap decision that leads to a certain desired outcome for the user or for your organization. I'm going to share one, and I bet there's so many other red flags and beige flags by other speakers that I'll pass it off there.
Great. Thank you so much, William. Moving to Saraswati.
Yeah, I think one of the red flags is not thinking through. So always rushing to answer, very fast responses and not listening and not waiting actually until I finish speaking. So I have been in interviews where people will not let me finish and they just start answering. I think people prefer because a good part of these PM interviews are product sense interviews where people will appreciate the interviewer actually wants you to take time and think, actually write things down, carry a notepad and pen. If you are doing a virtual interview, have a whiteboard, be ready to jam, and be ready to get the interviewer into your mind, explain your thinking process. And I think in the hurry to answer, or maybe they're not confident with the answer, people don't let me finish. And to me, that's a red flag because you're not listening. You're not listening at all. Forget about, showing any demonstration of thinking through the answer. Yeah. So I like people to be a little composed, sit easy, listen through the question, take your time, bring out your notepad for product sense questions. And if you don't know, ask questions, clarify, frame your, answers, and then take people through, because a lot of PM work is thinking. Either you are, even when you're putting out fire, a PM is expected to think what is the best way to put out the fire. So it's not that we execute all the time. It's not that we think all the time, but whether to think or execute is also something which the PM thinks a lot. So thinking is something which, if the candidate is not demonstrating, I think that's a clear red flag for me.
Totally. Pratik, your take?
So, what happens is generally what I have seen is a product manager role is like a role which has it has multiple faces, it has multiple roles in this. He's not only a communicator of the client's understanding or the product understanding, but he's also a communicator to the masses and marketing. He's also communicator to the different engineering teams, the customer support teams, and all. So now during the interviews, there are questions which comes across about these different roles, and the answers comes out to be very generic for strategizing your take, how to handle a different teams or different departments within the organization. So that clarity should be there, right? If you have to give an idea about the product, that has a separate kind of a response, and that response cannot go to a marketer, right? The marketer needs to understand what are the benefits of that, what you are thinking about. And similarly, when you talk to customer support teams, right, or the implementation teams, there the idea should be given to them in a way like how this thing has to be implemented on the customer side, how this thing has to be taken by the implementation team when they are facing the customer side. So these different answers comes out for different approaches, right? And if you have a common approach to all the departments, then it becomes a very negative. It goes very negative to your selection.
Correct. Yes, I agree. And because PM is also binding all other departments going along. So if he is not able to answer or doesn't have the clarity, the other things will not really go along, and it will be totally a mess up at the end of the day. Totally agree. Coming to
Exactly.
Kendrika. Thanks, Pratik.
Yeah, so I would say, and I completely agree with everything that's been mentioned before. So I'm trying to think of something new. And I think one thing would be that you don't be too agreeable. Um, I think it's nice that I think some people think that in a PM interview, you're like, yes, yes, I agree. I can do this, I can do that. You don't have to agree with everything that I say or that the interview is saying, because then I wouldn't really need your input. I'm hiring you for a reason. And being too agreeable is going to cause some potentially disastrous issues down the road. There are going to be times when your answer is going to have to be wait. There might be times when you might need to divert a stakeholder from an idea, because you might know that that's a very terrible idea. You just need to be able to have those communication skills to help them see it in a different light or propose a different solution. So yeah, saying yes to everything can be disastrous and prohibit true progress that prevents you from accomplishing a viable business outcome. So that I would say that that's like a common red flag, that if you're constantly nodding and agreeing with everything, I'm like, I don't know if you know how to think abstractly and on your own here.
Right, right. Deepak, what's your take? Thank you so much, Kendrika.
Yeah, I think the first one in my list is not specific to product management per se, but a professional who I would love to work with. And all the more so for a PM is aptitude. So essentially, I'll have a certain set of questions where I check, how intellectually alert that candidate is. Just to give an example, I'll ask a question like, what's the angle between the hour hand and the minute hand at 3:15 p.m.? And there are like 5 or 6 things that I sense from the responses I received during the interview. And I'm not necessarily looking for a single, a question asked and an answer given, but more of an interactive discovery to the answer, because the answer is not obvious to that question. So I'll purposefully do this because, from my past experience, learned the hard way, is that if you invest that extra bit in ensuring that the candidate is of a certain degree of aptitude, it helps a lot, as it directly ties into his ability to learn from his experiences and get better. So that would be like, if a candidate doesn't clear that, everything else, past experience, product management knowledge is all great, but this would be a one big red flag. Second one would be on the amount of questions the candidate asks me during the interview. Because almost always, there will be a few questions that, I'd ask with partial information, piece of information. So I'm also looking for the candidate's critical thinking ability to ask questions to clarify the context further, and then take a moment to rephrase the question and validate whether this is what I'm looking for in terms of answering, and then proceed to answer. So if the candidate is not asking me questions and is jumping to answer, and almost always the candidate will also fail to recognize and mention the assumptions he's making, which are implied in his answer. So that's a red flag. So
Great. Thank you so much. I think loads of insights. So I'll just sum it up. William talked about poor communication, not able to articulate the product vision, or not able to tell that who is the product for, right? It's the very purpose fails, because you are creating the very base, the fundamental of your product pathway, if I say. The second thing, it's about the product sense interview. Definitely, having that understanding and being well prepared, structured, calm and composed, and following a specific leading question that really helps them to show as a thought leader, very important, which is often not asked. So therefore, it's a common red flag. Third one is, people don't really listen till the full stop and start jumping, answering the questions. This was one of the improvement areas I also had in one of my directs, and now she is much more calm. And when I look after her after many years, I see she has transitioned beautifully. So yeah, I totally agree on that. The fourth one is the clarity. If you don't have as a product leader the clarity, the people really cannot follow or cannot take you as a leader. Fifth one, talking about the don't be too agreeable. You are not trying to please anyone, because if you are trying to be agreeable, then you are actually prohibiting the true progress of the product or as a company goal or the objectives or the bottom line. The last one, Deepak added that having that aptitude in that candidate and asking the right question, which shows critical thinking, are very important. So with this, I think I cannot add more than this, but I will also say sometimes, it happened to me as one of the cases when they came for an interview, their resume looks very good. But when I asked the question, they were not able to really articulate, or there is a total mismatch what they are saying and what the resume is representing. So be very structured and go through your resume. This is another red flag, because we really expect what you have written you should be able to articulate with examples, with skill sets, with plenty of real kind of live examples. If you are not able to do so, then it is a very bad uh, perception issue, and anything that you say right will not be taken, because leaders are also big about perception, right? They create big perception. That's the way leaders are. It's a bad thing about the leadership, but that's the way they are, unfortunately, most of the leaders today. So with that, I'll move on to the next question. What is your current role in product management? This is typically for the speaker right now. And what are the biggest opportunities, challenges, and how do you really navigate those challenges and navigate those opportunities? So, Deepak, you want to go first?
Okay. So just to introduce my role a bit more in detail. So I'm basically a techie by background who moved into product management post my MBA. And I've had stint across multiple industries, FMCG, airline industry, loan originations and servicing space, which is my first fintech experience. And now the latest startup experience in a reg tech or fintech company based out of Singapore. So I've transitioned from being an engineer to being a product manager to being a product leader to now being somewhere at the cusp of sales and product. So this is a very common problem statement where product management doesn't have direct connect with the market they are trying to serve. So they end up becoming too much inward focused and too much execution driven than spending a lot of their energy and time in the market understanding the end users and the problem they're solving for those end users. So I've kind of moved gradually towards this. I have extreme heavy client exposure in my role. So that's my bread and butter to keep peeling off layers of onion, like a layer of onion, what really the problem is for the client, and then helping solve it for them. And then funneling insights to the product team, what they should prioritize, what they shouldn't, what is the market valuing the most, what would it, affect sales, and so on and so forth. So that's my role. I get to influence product roadmap very heavily in my current role, being a product guy myself. So that's my current role. So I'm not building products directly anymore, although I've done a lot of it throughout my career. So yeah, so that's my role currently. What I have seen very closely, working with product managers day in and day out, in terms of opportunity, is the ability to get the organization to speak the same language, have the same view of what your product capabilities are. I have seen painfully a lot of occasions where the sales efforts are scuttled drastically because the person who was talking about the product was not the most equipped person to do that job very effectively. So you may have the best product in the world, but if you have not done a great job of ensuring your stakeholders know how great it is and why it is so great, then you are essentially undermining all the investment that you're doing So it's an inefficient way to realize revenue out of your product. So stakeholder alignment, communication, education, which is basically a big part of product enablement. That's my current role. I would say that is a big opportunity where that can unlock the full value potential that you've built into your product. So it's literally that. The biggest challenge that I see today for product management is to have that kind of say or influence over the topmost decision makers in the organization to basically drive the direction of the product. Almost always they find themselves lacking time and capacity to invest the amount of effort and mind to the problem statement. So they're not able to come up with a conviction heavy proposition for the senior management to believe in and then go their way. They end up being the takers of the inputs from the senior management and they try to make it work. So that is like a big challenge. It's a chicken and egg story because you don't have time, you don't do enough to create the kind of product roadmap you would want to, and because you're not doing that, you're not creating a reputation for yourself to be able to influence the senior management in your direction. So I think that's not sure how many here have faced that challenge, but I see that very common.
Yeah, thanks, Deepak. No, I agree with being the taker at the end of the day and saying yes, which is one of the points that Kendrika mentioned, being too agreeable at sometimes. Yeah. Moving to Kendrika, your point, yes.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is the biggest opportunities and challenges. So in my industry, I'm in the ad tech, advertising technology industry. Publishers are facing a daunting time in internet history right now. We have a very big problem to solve as a publisher representative as at Mediavine, but also as an industry at large. One big, more recent example would be like Google's recent search decisions and how that's kind of affecting publishers. They're losing revenue, right? And so this goes into just like a larger kind of problem that we're having in the ad tech industry. But I have an internal opportunity that I think will help contribute to how do we help our publishers during this time and beyond, right? So at Mediavine, I will say that we're facing a growth pain point. We were a smaller startup that grew really quickly, and things that worked in the past when we were maybe 50 people doesn't work at scale now that we are over 200 people. And so helping to inform leadership on how to be more product structured so we can avoid falling too deep into that feature factory model is something that I am committed to right now. I think it's very healthy for product teams to re-look at the way that they're structured, maybe at minimum once a year, because the needs of your clients change. So we want to be sure that we are producing better outcomes rather than just outputs. And this is, again, just particularly important because of where the ad tech industry is. And so I'm kind of in the mindset of making sure that our house is in order so that we're better positioned to tackle these overarching projects.
Great. Thank you so much, Kendrika. Moving to Pratik.
So yeah, so I am into fintech for last 1 decade, and the major interesting part of my job is like to make a product which creates an impact. Right now in fintech, it's a very crowded space. There are a lot of beautiful fintech apps coming in, right? And everybody is working on the innovation and trying to solve the customer need in a more better fashion. So that's the opportunity that I also have in my product to make sure, like, yes, I can give an experience to the customer which can be a differentiator and also helps him solve his issue, his need of financials in a more better manner, right? So that's the opportunity which I see, and that's the main the how I resolve it is it's more of like a backend exercise a lot in fintech apps that happens where a lot of data decisioning can be bring in into the software, which can help in getting a more better user experience, right? For example, I'll give a typical example. If somebody is applying for a loan, it's a very straightforward kind of a UI journey which all the apps or all the web applications have, is about taking the details of the customer, giving him the financial product. Now, what the innovation involves in it is how you actually judge that data and give him the best solution or the best product as a response. So a lot of things involves about, as I said previously, involves about understanding the customer, his geography, his current working style, his current income information which we get, and try to give him the bestest possible solution based on this data and how you actually analyze this data. The second important thing in our products is about regulations, right? And so since all the fintech apps are very closely regulated by the central government agencies, so as a product guy, you need to be aware of all these regulations, which are new regulations coming in, making sure that yes, you are following those regulations correctly, making sure the security part is handled correctly as per the regulations which has been said, right? Because any one of those makes your product go down from the popularity in the popularity index, like in a huge manner. You can be one of the best products, but you don't follow one of the new regulations, you go on bad on the security, one compliance check comes from the RBI, and boom, you're out of the market. So it involves for a product guy to be very important, because it's the tech people, the sales people, all the other departments will not be taking care of this thing. This completely goes to the product guy. He has to be aware of it. He has to make sure that he's updated, talking to engineering teams regularly about different things which he's learning, trying to understand whether that thing is already been taken care or not in the app. Because since again, like Deepak, I have been into primarily both the roles of tech and the product, and when I wear my tech hat, I follow the rules which have been already told to me, right? And I try to make sure from the tech side, like those rules have been nicely implemented in the bestest fashion. But a new rule, I'll be always surprised. So somebody has to come and tell me, like, okay, this new thing has come in. You do a face recognition, please make sure, like, you also now check, along with face recognition, you always check whether he's live or not. A very simple example, right? And this was one of the things which I told my tech guys, like when they were doing the selfie check, like don't just take the image and verify it with the image to image comparison. You can put in best of tick in that, but also check whether that image of a person is an image of a person. It's not like an image of an image, right? So it, for a tech guy, it was a very simple thing to do it, but if he wasn't aware, he wouldn't have done it, and we would have gone down the drain.
Certainly. Thank you so much, Pratik. Moving to Saraswati and then William.
Yeah, hi. So I think right now we are building an online travel product, starting with the US market. So it's a good space to be in, because when we look at the consumer research or the consumer behavior, what it clearly says is people are willing to go to debt, but they will still travel. So if you see, this is one industry where the customer intent is so high, people willingly come, people willingly search, and they spend on an average of 74 to 76 days to plan their travel. Right? So there's a lot of anticipation and eagerness to the trip. So it's a huge market where the customer push is there by default, but at the same time you have this scenario where there are market leaders like Booking, Expedia, where there is a group concept where, these companies, they own a meta site, they own all kinds of travel sites. And then there is a lot of influence and sway. And also the rise of entire, tech around enabling the hotels to basically compete. And then, so this is the space we are in, but there is a lot of money, and the problems, which people face right now are the complexity which these platforms actually show to the user. It is very hard to just go and book a room. I will get fatigued, I'll have 20 tabs open. I cannot figure out which product is actually cheaper, or they are playing games with me. 2 days later, I will come back and then I see this dynamic pricing being played out on me as a user. So there's a lot of fun in the market. And when I joined the team, we kind of built the tech. We had the website and the apps ready, but our business model was very raw. So we were not sure how we would actually make money. And then, a lot of my work revolved around refining the business model, finding out how exactly, you make money. how do you enable that flow in, your product? How do you build that flow, and what stays offline, what stays online? That's been a big part of my job, which is still going on. And the second part is it's a startup, it's a young team. And I think people are excited too soon, also disappointed too soon. So I started this culture where, we catch up every Mondays, and I try to bring the entire org together and start communicating in a common language, tell people what we are doing, give, regular updates on how things are going on, and take things offline. And I think the third one is, more on the non-functional side, which I touched on earlier, because while we build the tech, we were not sure how performance ready it was, security, how ready it was, how legally compliant we are, because we have California privacy law, US has EDA, accessibility laws, how compliant we should be, and we are registered in a state, how my end-to-end accounting setup should look like, how my books of account should look, and how do I know how much money I am making end of the day. So it's not just the tech, but now I think after, my day-to-day job, of course, involves in, defining a few products, but along with that, rallying the team, figuring out how we are actually going to make money in this market and a very sure, short way, and then setting up these, ancillary departments of marketing and then collaborating with legal. So I would say it's a mix. So yeah, it's fun. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't have any other choice but to say it fun. But yeah,
No,
getting
actually,
the real
I
pleasure,
quite
but yeah,
like
yeah, I agree.
I quite like what I'm doing. Purely, the money and the opportunity in the space and the ease actually you can bring in to people's lives. And also, with the new intersection of this generative AI, where every other app tells that it's a AI planner. So to be actually think through these features from the problem space and see if there is an intersection of interesting features that can evolve into something more. So the market research is also one area where I very heavily involved with our MRA. So we try to think 6 to 12 months ahead, commission some primary research, look at some Gartner reports, look at the Play Store reviews of our competitors to see what the biggest complaints are. So while we still do the day-to-day, I spend a good amount of time planning for the next couple of quarters. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Saraswati. William, yes, go ahead.
Perfect. And this is a really good transition too, because I'll be talking a little bit more about generative AI. So first, I'm going to share a little bit of context. I'm going to share about my role, my mission, and then second, I'm going to go into kind of the biggest opportunities and challenges that I faced. For my role, I'm an instructor, an AI product management instructor at Pluralsight. And what I look to do is I look to three things: engage with people who are interested in continuous learning, who would like to be have opportunities to upskill. Probably many of you listening live in the audience right now, and many of you who'll be watching the recording later too. People that are looking for education around AI product management, how to build AI apps with different platforms. For example, I've been just a part of OpenAI's first AI product management cohort. And that's a good educational tool. And the last and probably the most important is to empower these individuals to take their education and apply it to real world examples and have them build working AI products at the end too. So that's my role. A bit about my mission is to build really meaningful AI products that not only provide a positive result for an organization, but more importantly, that promotes a positive social impact. And really the biggest opportunities that I've seen from my experience that align with my mission is leveraging AI to solve real world problems. And one instance is in GovTech. So we all, in different countries and different governments, you pay taxes. And a lot of the governments don't have proper transparency about government spending with your tax money, but they produce these budget reports that provide some clarity in there. And these budget reports are typically 500, sometimes 2,000 pages long here in the US. So the use case and the problem I'm looking to solve is empower individuals underserving demographics that maybe English isn't their primary language, that they could distill a large amount of government spending information in a conversational way. And that localization provides them a translation into their own primary language. So they seek to be a little bit more empowered when they go to city council meetings, when they go to their government, writing letters to their government reps about their government spending and how it impacts theirs and their family lives. And the last, I'm going to talk about the challenges and opportunities. I'll be brief on this section. So I talked a little bit about the opportunity there, the challenges that we're facing with building AI products. It's really a balance between innovation with ethical considerations, data privacy, and data security. That's what I'm seeing now. And as AI product managers, I really encourage individuals to follow a process that includes market research relating to AI and specifically regulations, to have an iterative development mindset when you're building AI products. And then lastly is always keeping that human in the loop and really implementing constant feedback loops.
Perfect. So again, I may miss some of the insights. I have been the student at least for this forum. So yeah, I heard of a lot of things. Definitely, talking the same language and not doing enough research about customers' needs that Deepak started with, and end up being as a taker because not able to have the right time and investing that, talking to your senior management why we should do this and why not other things, and end up whatever the decision being taken and just agreeing to that. I also heard when Kendrika talked about that because of Google algorithm changes, and there are those cookieless world that we have been all entered into. The ad tech industry is going through a severe loss, and how Kendrika as a product manager is really ensuring that they are not falling into this feature factory, but really focusing on in how do they navigate through these times, and how do they be really focusing on what is really important for their customer. So that is the second thing. I also heard a few other things, that being the better planner, and also focusing on the different compliance and the data privacy and the different government laws in different countries. That different people talked about, both Pratik and Saraswati talked about, and how do you really navigate that, being you are a tech person, you are also a product person. Now you really need to have all the information. You also need to do your market research, understand that where is your competitor, where you can get the money, what is the right business model, and things like that. And then finally, William talked about the really interesting place where we are all in, using Gen AI in everything, and how he empowers, how he helps those people who wants to upskill themselves, and at the same time looking into the GovTech and knowing those detailed report and how do you really using AI to solve that problem. That are some of the key things that we talked about in this question. Moving on, I think. I know audience, you can definitely type some questions, but here is one question that I have is that, so speakers, please help me out that if there are any hacks for showcasing a candidate's product sense and strategic thinking during an interview. So do you guys recommend anything? I think Akhil has, I now see Akhil. Akhil, why don't you start first? And please turn on your camera. We have been eagerly waiting for you.
Sure. So, sure. Thank you. Was say I had an urgent meeting, a dinner that I had to be at. So sorry, I won't be able to start my camera, but then I'll be able to add to this overall. I think what I see overall, say from a product management perspective, I think if you really want to say stand out within the product, say interviews, typically you should be able to talk and say lead with customer insight in there. So I think important to really think about the context first, talk about what consumer segment you're following and say targeting as such for that solution. What is the real pain that they have? And I think there are techniques that you can actually follow.
Okay, not able to hear you. Okay.
To identify maps. So yeah, I think I was talking about say some of the techniques that you could use for say really talking about the customer journey and say identifying the core customer problem, say, for example, customer empathy map, customer journey maps, would give you an insight on where the user is really facing that problem, workflow for the user. You'd be able to in the interviews. And I think that really displays from a product management experience perspective, your ability to really think about strategically about how do you really build your products going forward. So if you look at that segment, think about the pain points, think about that problem area, then talk about the solutions. Then, of course, strategy is all about prioritizing the right solutions to solve that pain point. Eventually, you should be able to get that in terms of, say, really thinking about it into various.
Got you, Akhil. Yeah. I think there are some network glitches, but we heard you, your points. Thank you so much. So moving on to Saraswati.
So your question is, how can a candidate demonstrate?
Is there any hacks for a product sense and showing that strategic part of it using the product sense? Yeah.
Yeah. So firstly, in product sense, the interviewer is not looking for an exact answer. It's more to see what's your thought process. How do you even do anything on the problem space before going to the solution space? So I think, first thing is, in our mind, we should have the framework and we should always write it down. Like I have said previously, have a notepad and a pen ready and start with the business problem. So a simple structure I like to follow when I am, answering these questions is start with the business problem. At least identify, who the user is, what is the problem the user is facing. And once you identify the problem, do you have any data at the back of your head to, justify the user segment or the user problem? And then, so once that's where your problem space ends. And here, if we are unable to arrive at the user or the problem, make a certain assumptions, validate the assumptions with the interviewer, or, then you confirm that, reframe what you have done so far and reconfirm with the interviewer that this is the problem. And then now we will move to the solution space and start talking about the solutions. So if we take a particular problem, we could do it completely manually. I could do it semi-manual and automated. I could completely automate it. There can be multiple solutions to the problem, but in general, when we are talking about solving a problem, ideally the ability to draw a very high level system design or a wireframe will put that candidate much ahead of others, who are only talking all the time. The ability to quickly etch out an artifact in the interview shows the confidence one has, in their ability to solve the problem. And I think the last but not the least, every feature or everything that we are implementing must be measurable. So identify one or two metrics with which we will measure and how you are actually going to capture those metrics. So these need not be something very elaborate, but all these points, identifying the user, their needs, brainstorming on a couple of solutions, drawing out a basic wireframe or a system design to demonstrate the tech proficiency, and then wrapping up with metrics. I think this is a nice framework to think. And throughout all these steps, if there is a whiteboard, if there is a notepad or a pen, brainstorm, make the interviewer also a part of this. It's not like a monologue or a very stressful kind of situation, because this is where I think where a lot of people also miss out is on the creativity part. If a problem can be solved creatively, it inherently shows that the candidate will think out of the box and will be able to survive certain difficult situations which will arise, in the day-to-day life. So instead of going with the standard answers of 1, 2, 3, it's good if the candidate can put in some more, creative, although it is still not achievable, but the creativity will, earn them some brownie points. Yeah.
Right. No, I think that's a fabulous way of answering this. Thank you so much, Saraswati. I'll move to Kendrika, 2 ladies at a time.
And this is how to stand out in a product manager interview, right? Yes, I I would definitely echo the point about having a whiteboard or Jamboard if it's virtual, or some type of way to be collaborative with the interviewer. Ask questions, right? Ask questions about the problems that they're trying to solve. Let them know that you're trying to dig deep and really gain some context. I think a framework, not only one framework, but there are several frameworks, but maybe pick like your top two and just memorize them and have them on hand when you are interviewing. One framework that I like to follow, I don't really know the name of it, but let's say that you are, I guess, in a user case study, or you want to display that you're really thinking about the problem holistically. You want to kind of write out what that user segmentation is, right? Because there's different users when you're solving for an issue. There's the issue on there's a user that's maybe like on one end of your product, say an app or what have you, and then there's also another type of user, the Lyft app or the Uber app. There's the driver, and then there's the person that's actually getting into the car. Your solution, which user are you targeting your solution towards? You want to make sure that you're listing out any pain points, and again, this is collaborative. Ask the interviewer about that. Maybe write some of those down. Pick a pain point, and then really hone into that pain point and start prioritizing ask them what the impact is, ask them what the urgency is, ask them what the level of effort might be to achieve something like that. And then you go into your prioritization method. Think about trade-offs and let them know that you're thinking about trade-offs, again, by asking questions. And then you can mention brainstorming and really fostering that environment of being collaborative across the board, I think is important. So just kind of like memorizing that's an easy one. So that's kind of like my go-to, right? User segmentation, pain points, prioritization. And then if you want to mention some trade-offs, I think that's kind of an easy route to go with your whiteboard on the screen.
Great. Thank you so much, Kendrika. Moving to William.
Yeah, these are some great points by the ladies here. A couple things maybe to add was taking it from a market awareness perspective, kind of showing an understanding of market trends and competitive landscape. Some of those actions might be looking at some of maybe the current news or feature launches by that organization, and really taking those kind of market awareness, maybe going to a competitor and kind of looking at current news from that competitor or current product or feature launches, and kind of comparing the two, almost kind of developing a battle card update that would enhance the sales process too. I think that's really shows initiative, shows that you have enough market awareness, and it shows you a deliverable that you can have a collaborative discussion on during the interview. And kind of going what we talked about earlier, not just using an established framework, SWOT analysis, jobs to be done, an opportunity canvas, but structuring that in a way that you're able to use real examples from your experience that shows that you've identified a market need and developed some product solution goes a long way in an interview too. Not only can you use those deliverables from a framework, but also kind of show maybe a little bit of a roadmap of the impact that you would be able to have based on your real world examples.
Great. Thank you so much, William. Going to my two male colleagues here, Deepak and Pratik. Go ahead and summarize what's your stake. Yeah. Who wants to go first? I will not do the roll call right now.
I'll just add a very quick point to all the points. So one thing I have seen, like in the interviews, like when the interview comes and a good guy, he always or he or she always studies about what the JD is and what the expectation from the role is, and gets prepared accordingly. I would just like to suggest to all the other folks, like it's very important not only about the JD, it's doing some more deeper research about the company, what it's doing. And the best way to do about it is, like, you have now beautiful forums of LinkedIn and all. Just go through the profile of the company. What are the recent news articles where their names have come up? What kind of a products, that how you get idea, like what kind of products or what kind of a what do you call a challenge which they are trying to resolve, and try to develop a case study of your own, like a simple case study in terms of few mocks which are there in your head. And as the other colleagues have said, like it's better to like then put those things onto a whiteboard of showcasing like, okay, this is another way, or this is a more better way, or this can be more enhancements to the existing things what the company is doing in terms of the product. So that gives a very interesting perspective to the whole interview. It becomes very open-ended then, like you compel the interviewer to ask the questions for which you have already prepared for, right? And that's a very good technique, like if you can actually control the interview rather than the interviewer controlling the interview, right? So indulge him into kind of a scenario relating to what the company is doing and where he asks you questions. It can also, as I've initially said, it can also give you a point where a curveball can come to you, a difficult question can come across to you where you might not be prepared. But again, as Kanika has mentioned, that the best way to then to handle that thing is to ask the whys or ask the whats, and that will indulge you into kind of a healthy conversation about the product. And the interviewer starts getting an idea like, yes, the guy is already prepared about like what his job would be, and he has a grasp of it, and he gets more confidence into it. So that's my addition.
Right. Deepak, yeah. Now the pressure is building on you being the last person. We are so many.
I have anything to add, Sudipta. But I'll give it a shot. Yeah. So, do all that you have already heard doing, but I would just add on top, be aware of, what you don't know for sure about your whatever case study or the implied assumptions, basically. And also, because as a PM, right, in at no point of time you're going to have perfect knowledge of the problem statement, of the segmented impact, of the impact value that you expect to unlock if you solve that problem, and so on. Or each of these are going to be, at least in part, be based on certain, assumptions or the limited knowledge that you will have about the market. And one of the things that the interviewer would expect of you is to have this kind of a iterative approach, saying that be aware of all the assumptions that underlie your hypothesis, let's say product hypothesis, let me use that term. And then tell the interviewer that when I build let's say if I were to build this product up fresh, scratch, what would be my assumptions for this particular problem statement that I'd be aware of, but I have to, take a step. I can't just overanalyze till eternity and not do anything about it, right? So be aware of those assumptions, have a plan to validate those assumptions as early as possible in the product cycle, because more often than not, a lot of investment goes in before certain huge issues come up and a pivot is required. You stop going in the direction you're already going in and you have to pivot. So if you showcase that sort of a dynamic evolution pathway of your product hypothesis, not just as a static picture saying that, hey, this is the problem, this is the segment, this is how, and this is how I would build the product. No, that's a static view, never works in practical reality. So if you also augment that with this iterative approach that you intend to take or you will take, then it will show up in a very big way. I don't know if there's a name for this framework, but it's just something I can share for next week.
Great, guys. Thank you so much. So yeah, I think I will not summarize because that that takes my exercise as well, that how much I but I think a couple of things that everybody talked about, leading the interview with the right insights and being well prepared, having the right model or a framework in place, knowing the real pain point of the customer, what is the actual business problem, solving it with, because here no one is right or wrong. Here the main thing is people want to see your thought process, and if you are well articulated, understanding about the company, so that you can control the interview process, you actually know a few of your overall focus areas, your strategic thinking, able to collaborate with the interviewer so that both can show that you guys are actually thinking something creative, collaborative, out of the box. These are some of the key things for a product sense and some of the hacks. With this, I am now going to move to many of our audience today are from non-product management background. And it's very important that many of us, many of you have asked me earlier, and also there is a similar question from Kingship, that if I am not from a product manager and I want to navigate this field, how do I really make my first entry to that? Is there a certification? Is there any resource? Is there any other kind of a templates or any book that can give me a quick hack? What's your take? And with that, I open it to the speakers. Maybe William, you go first, and then we go with the other speakers. Yes. And guys, we need to be little quick because we have some more questions and we haven't opened up to our audience yet. Yes.
Noted. And we definitely want to get some of the questions from the audience here. So really, to be honest with you, certifications can be helpful and not necessary. And that should be a powerful statement coming from an instructor who teaches about AI product management. Practical experience, a strong product portfolio, and a clear understanding of product management principles is what you should be striving towards. So how do you get there? There's really kind of three things that I encourage people: continuous learning, networking, and hands-on experience. Well, what are some actual steps, William, that I can get to get to those kind of three areas and to kind of my understanding there? Well, one, I would definitely recommend follow some type of maybe book or study material or resources related to product management. For me, it was Dan Olson's The Lean Product Playbook. Dan Olson and I were on Sophian's product management podcast last year. I think he's a great. So starting with one of those, maybe next week you make a decision to follow a product management leader in the space. Now you're following an individual who's sharing his insights that you can even reference from the study material. Now the next week, I'm giving you a 3-week tutorial here. That third and final, find a product management community that's going to support you in your knowledge base, in your following, and as well as it gives you an opportunity to build kind of hands-on experience. Maybe there's a product ideation or product discovery webinar that you can be a part of to learn a little bit more and do some self-start product experience.
Great. Thank you so much, William. Akhil, what's your take?
Sure. I think one framework that actually helped me, and I think a lot of the people that I coach and mentor, I think they were also benefited from this, is product gear down approach. So basically try and understand, say the products that you come across in your daily lives. Say for example, in India, you would actually come across Swiggy, or say within US, you might actually come across Uber on a day in, day out basis. Try and see.
Akhil, can't hear you. I think we lost you.
Features they built. Try and see you can break down the. Is it better now? Sorry.
Yeah, it's
So I
better
was
now.
being basis. Try and see if the features that you see in there, can you break down the thesis behind that? Can you actually identify why a certain feature was built? Again, the product gear down is about identifying the right segment that feature was built for. What is the pain point that that product feature is trying to solve for? And then try and see if there are other competitors solving it in a different way. So if you think about that, you would more often than not build some sort of a product sense, at least see products in action. Say how product managers who are trying to solve that problem in real world would approach that problem. So I think that helps a lot in terms of really building a core product sense initially, especially for people who are starting out.
Got you, Akhil. Thank you so much. Moving to Pratik.
So yeah, very good insight back, Akhil. Like that was one of the things in my head also. Like, and I practice a lot. Like, how can I build a better Amazon kind of an e-commerce experience? So, rightly agree. Another very interesting thing I will just add, like any person who wants to plan himself to go into product management, he should start attending events like these and other events. He should become become part of the community, and it's a very interesting way. That's how I have built my experience of networking with a lot of great product guys, like the ones we have here right now, right? And you get to know, like, okay, so if somebody is here, somebody will get to know like what Pratik does, what Deepak does, what William is doing, right? And they are different areas, and all different areas have all different very kind of experiences and inputs which come from the leaders, and it helps you in actually building your thought process about how to actually create a product, how to actually think about a feature or a betterment to the product. So coming to these events also becomes a very important thing, I feel like, once who wants to get into a PM role. We talked about the certification. I rightly agreed with William. Certification is not something which actually proves anything, but definitely, if you being a very newcomer into the product management industry, you do a certification, it gives you the interviewer or the person with whom you're interacting, gives that person gives some confidence, like at least he's might be new in terms of experience, but still he knows the basics, he knows the understanding of the concept because the platform is there with that certification. But if somebody has an experience of product management, certification just becomes kind of a, what you can say, an addition to his knowledge, but not with the experience much to it. So I completely agree with reading books, going to podcasts, and they'll like, you can search, there are multiple good books, and that's where if you connect with the community, you can actually interact with people, and you can take input from them on what kind of a books or what kind of a podcast or what kind of forums they should be part of, which can help them in actually growing their knowledge.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Pratik. Moving to Deepak and then Kendrika and Saraswati.
I think like the one thing that should drive you is show that you are passionate about solving people's problems. And this is a very loaded statement. In a single statement, it implies a lot of things. So product management role in itself is an extremely hectic kind of a job. It's a full-time and then some kind of a job for someone who really wants to do justice to the role. Right. And there's no authority. And your credibility and reputation is your only currency that works with all the stakeholders, who need to believe in your vision, right? So, uh, someone who, I mean, it's a given that, product managers are expected to be inspirers, and they for them to be able to inspire others, they themselves need to be inspired in the first place. So what can you do to show that, there's something that is a driving force inside of you that is pushing you towards this kind of a role? If you could demonstrate that, that's a great way to make a headway. Now, this was an abstract description, so let me make it a bit more concrete for you. One of the ways you could do it is if you're already working in a tech job, which is a very common scenario these days, show what you have done within your current organization to move towards a product management oriented role. A common pathway is an engineer, techie, who has moved into a business analysis kind of a role, who is assisting an existing product owner, a technical product manager, or a full-fledged product manager to do his job. And in the process, he's basically learning and then showing interest into growing into those roles, right? So that is one very common way in the tech industry and a safe way without taking too many risks for you to try it out. If you're a fresher, Akhil already called out the product tear down, but I basically call it like a portfolio of case studies that basically show your curiosity, right? What you see in the world is basically reflected in those case studies. What kind of products you picked, why did you pick them, etc. If you are a fresher, you can reach out to professionals on LinkedIn looking for internship opportunities. So there is some level of research you could do to look for internship opportunities, and it's a win-win situation, obviously. Join product communities. Again, Akhil called that out already. But either way, have a good story to tell. So whatever, I mean, many of these things will not work out. In your current job, you may not be able to move towards the product role. As a fresher, you may not be able to get an internship and so on. But the story that you can tell of your attempts and failures, how you went from one attempt to the next in your quest to move to a product management role, then figuring out why you failed and why you changed, why you took the next step that you took after, is essentially problem solving. And if you could showcase that, I think you are on the right track already. So either way, it's a win. But I mean, of course, you have to push in that direction. I hope that helps.
No, definitely. Thank you so much. Moving to Saraswati and Kendrika. Yes.
I think very insightful answers. I hope people wouldn't mind a little longer answer because this is actually a very good topic. I would like to make this a little interactive to prove my point. I would like to talk to Kinshuk. Kinshuk, if you could unmute and just quickly tell me what your current role is right now, where you are. Based on that, I can tell you what I think you should do. Yeah.
Saraswati Kingshuk is the CEO at Shorter Loop. Yeah, he just asked
Okay,
me.
Kinshuk
Yes.
is asking. Okay,
Yes,
so I will. Yeah, sorry, Kinshuk, I didn't knew that. But what? Maybe
Sorry,
we
Saraswati,
in
that
any.
was not actually. I mean, yes, it was also my question, but because it is a question that has been asked the most to me
Yep. Yep.
by people, and not just freshers, but
We can
people
do.
who were in different careers and wanted like experience, like 45, 50-year-old people who wanted to make a transition to this career. Yeah.
So we can do a small role play. You could pretend you are a developer
Okay.
in a company, and we are talking, and you say that, okay, I'm a developer or I'm a tech lead, and I'm interested to move to PM. So how do I make this move? So
All right.
essentially, the first thing is there is a couple of skills that we need to have if you are doing the role of a PM. So the first is technical know-how, which you already have because you are coming from the tech background. And the second is living in the problem space, which means conducting some form of user research or understanding some form of market insights, distilling them into a sort of a roadmap and strategy which can be communicated to the other users. So, and the third skill is, basically your design, wireframing, system design kind of skills. And the fourth is communication. So what I really think is somebody coming from a tech background will be severely lacking in the problem space. And one should actually sit and do a very honest assessment of what they don't know. Because if they don't, the interviewer is going to assess the exact same thing and reject them in the interview. And then I do not wish to be blunt, but I say that people should take 6 to 12 months preparing themselves for this role. So if you come from a tech background, example, Kinshuk, so I would say that pick up some courses on business, strategy, understand how business models work, understand how pricing work, a short primer on, market research and user research, how people, a short course on maybe wireframe, nothing too detailed, but, for you to be able to understand. And then I am not a big fan of reading to eternity, but I think that once I read, it's more of how do we apply, right? And how do I demonstrate to the world and to my potential interviewer that I know these things, although I have not been trained professionally or academically in this. So during the 6 to 12 months when someone is learning, make LinkedIn your friend or have a Substack, have something in Medium, where instead of writing a lot, put out a short demo, do a quick wireframes, because I think that where your profession is not, adding up, there has to be some other artifact or deliverable which is actually doing that void. So I would like that, somebody who is looking to transition demonstrates that that skill gap by, doing and putting some form of artifacts out there. So that's one thing. And the second is for the product sense interviews specifically, I think everyone should find a platform or should find an accountability buddy and do a lot of, interviews to hone their product sense. I feel that, product sense inherently all of us have to some extent because we are all today, digital consumers, we see the apps, but to structure it, our thoughts, and to be able to answer in the interview is the biggest problem. And here, except practice, there is no other way. So in the 6 to 12 months, when somebody is, picking up the skill, which is not their core, simultaneously, I also recommend people to start working on their product sense interviews, do a lot of talking, try and structure your thoughts, see how you, come across in an interview. Are you listening? Are you asking questions? So I think people should not rush. And the third and the last thing is if you have an opportunity, always and always look for an internal transfer when you're making these kind of jumps, because people know you, you have built a certain reputation, and people are seeing the efforts you have been doing over a period of time, and they are very, very willing, to give you this additional task, if not with the one. And that's where either people can move to the role or build up enough credibility as an adjacent job, which can then go into their final resume, which will then come across very well rounded when somebody is sitting in front of the potential interviewer. Yeah. So I to sum it up, I don't think people should rush and not do a 2-month course or 3-month course. And instead of spending a lot of time giving interviews, I think people should take a lot of time preparing oneself to be fit, because getting a job is the entry point, and after that you will have to do the job day to day, and it should be fun, and it is something which you really want to do. And in the process, some people might discover they don't want to do the PM job. Again, very contrary to say on this, but that's a good discovery to have before you actually go to that role. Yeah.
So my main or an addition to that question is, how important is the domain knowledge to which you're applying versus having this product sense or knowledge of the product management process or knowledge of product management itself? How would you weigh those two things?
If you have two, if you have two people and both are similar on the product sense, you would hire somebody with domain knowledge. So I think it helps to pick 1 or 2 domains early on and go deep into those in terms of how the industry operates, instead of, because nobody can really master all the domains. So pick telecom or pick travel or, pick fintech. Try to stay in those 1 or 2 domains. And I would also say you could still go ahead and pick versus B2B, B2C, at least decide those things very early on. So it also acts as a funnel, and you could make a list of the kind of companies you want to apply. So I think this planning process has to be robust and start very early on. So you don't get rejected for things which you could be ready, Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you, Saraswati.
Kendrika, what's your take on this? I hope you remember the question. I'm sorry, I can say that again. Yeah, it was about, is there any hacks, or if I'm not a PM, but I want to be a PM, so what are any certification, books, templates, resources that can help me to get into this role?
Yeah, in the interest of time, I'll keep my answer very, very brief. I'll say when it comes to certification, depending on where you are in your journey, it can't hurt. I did it. I made the transition to a PM internally, so that did help. And it wasn't a requirement at all. I just wanted the basics. I had never even really heard of what product management was before. So at the very least, it will, having a certification or taking some type of course, right? There's courses that are 7 days. Having some type of course will allow you to gain basic terminologies and workflows, waterfall versus agile, like all that fun stuff. I completely agree with finding a community so that you can share resources, gain some insights, watch videos, listen to podcasts. You can run into common issues that PMs are facing across industries. And in terms of, I think a really popular one, at least here in the States, that a lot of PMs talk about is like Lenny's podcast, or like he has like a newsletter subscription as well. He touches on different PM topics. There's a book that I recommend to every product manager, no matter where you are in your journey, and that's Continuous Discovery by Teresa Torres. I just think that's an awesome read. A large part of product management is the discovery phase, and she just talks about how you're just continuously supposed to be discovering. And so that's awesome. So that would be, that's kind of my input to the question.
Great. I think just to summarize, I think we talked about having a course, because if you are not a PM, so you need to know the basic course and that methodologies, but don't rush and do a 2 months, 3 months, or 7-day course. find deeper what is your inner potential and your inner journey that you want to really take, and accordingly you invest in the right kind of certification. Second thing is the Lean PM playbook, and also we talked about many other playbook that we have also written in our blogs, and William has also given the links about the Amazon book that Dan Olson books, the Lean PM playbook. And we also talked about the PM community, and also, the different having that buddy and having that interview using the product tear down approach. These are some of the key things to have. I would also say that I personally like product school community and the events. I find that is very rich. And if you really want to hear it out, they do different types of industry conferences throughout the year, even ProdCon, that is their child, even the CPO Summit that is done by Product Led Alliance, and then there are many other organizations do that. And also sign up for many LinkedIn executives, Melissa Perry, Akash Gupta, Shreyas Doshi. They are my favorites, and I often learn from them a lot. So I would definitely say, please go and check those out. With this is my last question, and then we open the round for the question and answer. That is there any final tips that is there for product managers today that you guys want to conquer, or kind of say it in 1, 2, 3 fashion? Over to you. Anyone, just open and just talk about it. Yes. Anyone within the speakers.
Overall tips to becoming
any final tips for succeeding the product management interview that we have not covered so far, or you want to iterate on this or emphasize on this?
I'll say I don't know, this one's a little easy, but practice in the mirror. I think that's really helpful. I mean, it's a tactic that public speakers use as well, right? I think the more comfortable you get around a particular topic or questions or what have you, the better you'll perform. So practice in the mirror.
Perfect. Great. Okay, guys, any other
Can I have one more?
Yeah, please go ahead, William. Yes.
And this is kind of an inspirational one. I have 2 tips. First tip is don't give up. Whether you're starting your journey to become a product manager, or if you're already on your journey and you're having some challenges, whether at the workplace or finding a new role, don't give up. Maybe you're one email away from a connection in your network. And that goes to my second one, is you're not alone. We're developing really enriched product management communities. Please reach out, join these communities, and leverage the network that you continue to grow and build.
Great, guys. Okay, so audience, over to you. What questions you want to ask? Or is there any questions already? Let me see quickly the chat. Okay, Deepak also posted some of the other product folks. Yes, the product groups. Yes, those programs, the certifications. Okay, Saraswati too. Okay, guys. So, anyone having any questions? Okay, I think no questions, but anyone would like to sum it up? So I have done my bit, but I felt that if you guys would like to hear more on such topics, that is something at very, very close to your heart, and you think that this is just the opening series of it, and you want to hear it more, please let us know, and we will come up with our the best way of crafting another roundtable session. And I really hope all of you have enjoyed it. You have taken the notes. You are going to follow up at least 2 key takeaways from this roundtable that you will really follow it through. And personally, I would be interested to know how this has changed your overall experience being into the role of the product manager or stepping into the role of the product management, right? So with that, I would really like to thank all of you, and let's take a few more minutes to get some feedback, and also write some of the topics that you would like to hear, or on the LinkedIn or on the YouTube where we are live right now. And I will definitely do my due diligence to come back to you with another exciting series of Roundtable. Thank you so much, guys. And thanks to all the speakers. You took so much of time to really, it shows in your energy and you are being very passionate about what you are doing. So thank you so much for taking the time and talking to the audience and helping them to navigate their journey into the product management. Let me see. I see there is one. Okay, no, it's just the feedback. People are really, we need more feedback. Come on, this is not all. Come on, we need it more. Okay, guys, with that, I know that you are also quite tired right now. So I will leave it to you. Take some good rest and we will be back next month. Thank you so much, guys. Thanks. Take care. Bye-bye.